This is Fintech Conversations with Flagship, a podcast production by Flagship Advisory Partners. I'm Elisabeth Magnor, a senior manager at Flagship. The other day, I got a chance to speak with a very impressive and passionate leader in the European fintech space, Rune, the CEO of Vipps MobilePay. Rune has been a key driver in turning these wallets into extremely successful payment methods in the Nordics. I asked Rune about how they're planning to compete head-on with Apple Pay in physical stores after the launch of their NFC wallet, and how the company is thinking about pan-European interoperability and cross-border collaboration as part of the European Payments Alliance. Tune in to hear highlights from the conversation. First of all, super nice to meet you. Really appreciate that you wanted to take the time.
Of course.
To speak with us.
Yeah.
I've worked in fintech for 10 years, but I've also been Vipps user for more than 10 years. So I have the benefit of knowing your company from both the end user perspective, but also from the fintech scene. So I'm super interested in the topic and the developments that are taking place. I know you primarily as the CEO of Vipps MobilePay, but could you maybe start by introducing yourself a little bit more? Tell me about yourself.
I've been working a lot of years in banking as well. I started actually by building loyalty programs in DNB, the Norwegian bank, and they still have some of those loyalty programs today. I really enjoy to see that they are still alive. And then I was the marketing and product director for many years in DNB as well. And the Vipps adventure actually started as one of 9 new products we had in the marketing plan for 2015. So the last 10, now soon 11 years actually, I've been working in Vipps. So that has been quite a journey, but I think what I've been focusing a lot on is both the marketing and communication side, and obviously learned a lot about the technology and been in that space for a long time as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure it's an extremely exciting time to be Vipps MobilePay, especially these days. I'm thinking about 2 big themes we see emerging. One is the launch of the NFC wallet, which I anticipate being the main reason for this interview, and the majority of my questions are around the NFC wallet. But there's also this second pretty big, more pan-European topic, which is the interoperability between Vipps MobilePay and the equivalence of Vipps MobilePay in a broader European context. But I suggest we start with the NFC, and we follow the developments really closely. And we always, as consultants, we pull out, since 10 years now, we pulled out Vipps and MobilePay as leading examples and case studies, because you're really ahead of the game, a pioneer in what you do. And now the most recent development is the launch of the NFC wallet. And as we all know, the whole proposition is mostly around e-commerce payments, outside of peer-to-peer payments, obviously. What were some of the drivers for that shift into the physical store, and how much of this was driven by Apple's NFC access?
First and foremost, I would like to see that payment is perhaps, I think, the most exciting industry you could be part of. And I think it's interesting if you look, let's say, 15 years back in time, I don't think payment was regarded as the most interesting thing within banking. Or overall, I don't think people regarded payment as that interesting, actually. But it's changed a lot, and of course that is due to the data. So it's the customer data. And if you look at a competition, I find that really refreshing to see how it's changed, because it isn't that many years since we had the main competition between banks in payments. Of course, you had some other players as well. But today you're competing against the world's largest brands, and they are in it for the data. That's perhaps the most important thing. If you look at Vipps MobilePay as a company, it started with a P2P solution. That was the growth engine. That's how you built a brand. But that was obviously not the end state, because it's expensive to offer P2P. It's free. And then we extended with e-com. And that brand extension from P2P to e-com is a little bit more difficult than it seems. So taking a brand from a P2P brand to a P2B brand, and that was a really important part of the journey. At that stage, back in 16, 17, we already talked a lot about NFC in-store. Because when you are going to be a wallet and you want to be, I will say, present in every payment situation as well, then you need to cover in-store payment. 75% of the transactions are done in-store. And of course, if you're going to be the number 1 player, you need to be part of that as well. A lot of things has been happening quite fast in this industry. We're always talking about how the pace increases year by year, but some areas take a long time. So if you look at the development of NFC and the access of NFC, it took 8 years from we started talking about it. But the reason why it's so important is that it's 75% of the transactions in the market. And we believe that the position also in-store will affect the most important position strategically, the e-com part of the business as well. So if you're losing, or if you look at e-com and in-store combined, the question is, who is going to be the number one?
So in payments, I would say 8 years is a pretty long time. And during that time when Apple had a monopoly, let's call it, on the NFC chip in their own devices, I know that both Vipps and MobilePay, you've tried to enter the physical channel without access to the NFC. So Apple finally being forced to open their NFC, was that foundational for you?
Yeah, because we had some major fuck-ups. We're trying to actually compete in that space. So we did some attempts, some pretty serious attempts with QR codes. And QR codes, they are fantastic when you are going to use the QR codes paying for sports and clubs and in restaurants when you want a really seamless customer experience. But when we're talking about the payment terminal, comparing QR codes and NFC, you can always argue that it just takes 2 or 3 seconds more, perhaps 5, but that's too much. So we were actually the principal market for testing out QR codes compared to NFC. And that's pretty interesting because we had experienced a lot of success in almost every payment situation except QR codes in terminal. Actually, I think we invested tens of millions in it. And we had a market share of 0.09% when we ended that journey. And we actually challenged the most important sentence, and I will say rule in Vipps MobilePay, and that is, you're not going to do it if it's not simple enough. And in this case, it proved not to be competitive at all. So it's in the list of fuck-ups in the company, and it's perhaps the biggest fuck-up we had.
Wow. Yeah, and it's not only you. I mean, we've seen examples of other companies like Ideal in the Netherlands trying to enter the physical channel as well, and you have Twint in Switzerland. And I think it's also safe to say that no one has really cracked the code outside of NFC, like Bluetooth technology, QR codes. You have to solve a problem, and the user have to wanting to pay with that payment method, right? It has to work.
And if you look at MobilePay, the early history of MobilePay as well, we tried it all. And the reason why we've been trying so hard is, of course, because of the magnitude of the market you're entering with in-store payments. So you need to be part of it, but it was impossible to actually compete on level terms without the NFC antenna. And that's what came, or this, the positive decision I was given 1.5 years ago. And obviously we've been in the market now for approximately 1 year.
So being a champion in the online world doesn't equal success in the physical channel, because those are obviously two hugely different things.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what are your ambitions in the physical stores? Is that to be the number one preferred payment method?
In every payment situation we enter, the ambition is to be the number one. Of course, it's more demanding when you come to in-store payment because Apple already has a really strong position. So you're not actually entering the market as the first mover. And we have to add that you are not simplifying the payment experience. That's the very nature of Vipps MobilePay, simplifying the payment experience. In this case, it's water and water. So if you compare an in-store payment with Apple and Vipps MobilePay today, it's the same. So the question is then, why should you choose Apple or why should you choose a Vipps MobilePay? That's the big question. First of all, I have to say that if you look at mobile payment in Norway, I think that perhaps 25% or something is actually covered by mobile payment solutions. So 75% of the market has not yet decided what to do. A lot of people are still using plastic. That will disappear among the young people. And you can see that the young people, when they have the option of paying with their mobile phones, they tend to leave their plastic card at home. So that will happen. And that will spread into the rest of the population as well. So when you see this mature from 25% to 50%, who are, I will say, the regular customer going to choose? That's the big question. And it's no doubt that the transformation from plastic to mobile will happen very fast. So within a couple of years, you'll see who's the number one player. But it helps to be at the same level. In Vipps, we're talking about water and water. You're choosing between water and water now. You need to add more when it comes to competitive edge. So we need to add reasons to use Vipps MobilePay beyond payment. You need to have this FOMO, not using a Vipps MobilePay, where you're actually telling yourself that I'm losing something by not using Vipps MobilePay on a daily basis, also when it comes to in-store. I would also like to say that for a lot of the consumers, it is helpful to have all the transactions in one place. Mm-hmm. The simplicity and the oversight of having all the transactions in one place is extremely important. We also have to add that we have more users in our main markets than Apple, so that also helps a lot. So being a brand covering actually an even larger part of the market is important.
I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I still didn't make the switch from Apple Pay to Vipps for in-store payments, because that's the consumer in me speaking now. I found myself struggling to actually go into the phone settings and switching, and I'm thinking, well, Apple Pay for me, it works really well today. I've never had any issues. So I was kind of fearing, you know how they say never change the winning team, right? So that's the position I was finding myself in.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what are you planning to do to make people like myself have Vipps as the preferred wallet?
Yeah, I can just tell you that is the main question in Vipps MobilePay these days. So it's no doubt about that is the big question. First and foremost, obviously competing against, I will say, the strongest and most powerful brand in the world, that's challenging. But still, when it comes to the branding, we are really well positioned. So we do believe when it comes to trust and attractiveness of the brand, we are in the forefront. But that's not enough. You need to be really clear about the products and services you are offering beyond payment. And that's what we're doing right now. So we will introduce several offers for you when you're paying with MobilePay, giving you value at the new level. I'm not going to be very specific about that right now, but that is the key to actually create that attractiveness. Overall, when you have decided you have your Apple Wallet, you're using it as a default, it's hard to make people do the switch. So that tells a lot about how attractive the offering needs to be. And that is, of course, the goal for us. And it's the same, I will say, mechanism as you're describing. When they're using Vipps as a default, it's going to be very hard to make them change. Mm-hmm. But owning the device, I have to be really clear about that, when it comes to simplifying that default mechanism and make you actually do that choice, is easier when you own the hardware. That goes without saying, but it's if you look at from our point of view, it is simple to do this via the Vipps app, and we need, of course, to add some more products and services and competitive edge to make you actually get that FOMO feeling.
Yes. So is that related then to loyalty solutions?
It could be loyalty programs. You can see a lot of the players are doing loyalty programs, looking at Klarna, looking at Revolut, looking at Curve. They all offer their loyalty programs, but it could also be something that is more based on every transaction. We're giving something back, not necessarily cash back, but where we're offering some kind of excitement and products and service you don't want to leave out in your daily paying. Yeah.
Well, it will be exciting to see what you're going to do to create more adoption and how that is going. But just to circle back a little bit, so the launch of the NFC wallet is sort of old news because you launched in late 2024, right, with the bank acceptance.
Yeah, in December, yes.
Yes. Now, the drawbacks with that was that not everyone want to pay with their debit card. People like me, I want to use my credit card and earn the points. And then on the merchant acceptance side, not even 100% of merchants in Norway accept the local debit scheme.
Correct.
Now, that was solved for, right, second half 2025.
It was in October.
With you adding Visa MasterCard compatibility into the wallet.
Yes.
So it kind of sounds like that solved for people adding the card they want.
Yeah.
And also full merchant acceptance, not only in Norway, but also globally where wallets are accepted.
Yes.
So it sounds like that was a prerequisite for you to like go full steam ahead.
Yeah.
So what can you share about the adoption so far? Like how many people are actually using the wallet?
We have more than 1 million that has actually signed in for it. It's not 1 million active users, but we see that the adoption is picking up. And right now the growth is pretty high. Our expectations when it comes to usage, I think that within 24 months, you will have at least 50% of the Norwegians using the mobile pay as the main payment source when they are paying in store as well. So the growth here is fast, and I think we will have a large part of that market within the next 24 months. If you look at what you described, not actually being capable of using the wallet outside the Nordics, that was a challenge. And when you add that you didn't have acceptance in every store, you had a solution where people said that I can see your point, but it's not working for me everywhere. And it's a huge difference to say it works everywhere and you can pay all over the world. So from October, we've seen a strong growth. It's going to be even more when we add beyond payment solutions as well. And that needs to be on top of it.
And did you start adoption by just blasting out marketing and educating people? Has that been your main tactic so far?
We haven't done very much when it comes to marketing. We've been primarily using our own channels. So the adoption is mainly through the internal marketing in the app. But now we are actually including more marketing. We have done some external marketing as well, but we're increasing that now, and especially when we're adding products and services on top of payment. Because as you said, it's actually two parts of this. Do people know that we have the solutions where you actually can pay with Vipps all over the world? I often ask people about that when I'm in dinner parties and so on. Do you really know that you can use Vipps all over the world? And people don't know. So that is, of course, something that needs to be solved with marketing. But in addition to that, the question is, why should you use Vipps MobilePay, and what is differentiating us from Apple?
Apple opening up NFC doesn't only allow Vipps MobilePay to roll out solutions, but it also opens up for competitors like Klarna, right? Big brand in the Nordics. How do you think you stack up against companies like Klarna when it comes to NFC wallets?
I think our position here is extremely strong, and that is due to the fact that we have 30 million users in Finland, Denmark, and Norway. And if you look at Denmark and Norway, we have every user. I think that our position here is the strongest in the market. And it is really important for people. A lot of people would like to have a simple oversight of the transactions in one place as well. So the brand, the number of users, the total oversight of all payments in one place, the trust in the brand, combined, that gives us a really strong starting point to win the competition. That's why we're actually saying that we're going head on when it comes to Apple and other players, because we think we have the best, I will say, products and services to actually win in this competition.
So we wrote an article in December about the NFC space, and it spurred a lot of debate on LinkedIn because when it comes to payment methods, we find it as a topic that people have just really strong opinions about, and people just care so much about payment methods because I think everyone can relate to it on a kind of personal basis. And there was some debate about whether Vipps MobilePay should even try to compete as a wallet at all, given the strong position of platform owners like Apple and Google. So how do you respond to this view that competing wallets is just structurally unwinnable for Vipps MobilePay?
I think that is an interesting view. I have to say that first and foremost. I think it reflects the enormous results and the power. They have excited people a lot. They have built really strong international brands. They have won in I will say, most markets where they are entering. So it's understandable that people think they are unbeatable. But that's not how we see it. And that's mainly because that we have a lot of the ingredients in the wallet today. If you look at the whole payment landscape, 360-degree payment, we have a lot of the payment situation. And we will add new products and services to the wallet as well. So from our point of view, we are best positioned among these players. So I think that we are entering a phase where we are going to, I will say, add new products and services as well, completing the wallet. The first phase is actually just to move products and services from the physical wallet into the digital wallet and make sure that you have at least the same products there. And then we're going to take it to the next level and see what kind of value we could develop outside that as well.
I wanted to also talk a little bit about the topic around pan-European interoperability between Vipps MobilePay and the likes of Vipps in other countries. So you have Bizum in Spain, you have Blick in Poland, and the list goes on. And we heard you're part of the Europa Alliance, and Wero is the other initiative taking place in parallel, but also there is a collaboration, I understand, that is happening between these two initiatives. How do these initiatives line up with Vipps MobilePay's ambitions for international growth?
I think at this point, we are concerned about actually creating an interoperability, making it easy for you to pay all over Europe. So with the NFC and the solution we presented a year ago, you can pay with Vipps all over the world. We're wishing that you are going to pay to friends as easy to Spain, Italy, Greece, Portugal, as you're doing within the Nordics. So when you're sending money between Norway and Denmark today, or Sweden, it should be just as easy doing that to other European countries. So that's the main target now, creating a P2P solutions with some of the European players. And hopefully that will happen already this summer. Another part of this, when you look into Vero, it's also about payment rails and how we're going to create more cost-effective payment rails. So that is another part of the European collaboration. And we are, of course, looking into that as well. But at this point, the most important for us is to make sure that we combine the strengths of these wallets and create easy interoperability between the countries.
So how do you envision the end state being here?
I think the wallets will consolidate in the end. I think we'll see strong European alternatives to Apple, Revolut, and other PayPal and other players. So I think we'll see the rise of a few strong European players that will gather and make sure that they create a total offering, at least at the same level as the big international players.
If I look at these initiatives, so you have the Europa Alliance, which has a bit of a mixed bag of companies. So you have Multibanco in Portugal, you have Pago Bancomat in Italy. They're kind of the equivalents of Bank Accept being local debit schemes. And then you have Blick, which is a pure account-to-account payment method. And you have Wero, pure account-to-account rails. And I feel like what's common with these payment methods is that they're essentially alternatives to the global schemes, right? And Vero's ambition is essentially to compete or even outcompete the international schemes. But then I look at Vipps MobilePay, and you're a bit of a different animal because you pretty much very highly rely on these global schemes today. So I'm curious, which side are you on in this battle?
I think you are raising the question really well. I think it's a really good question. First and foremost, I would like to say that we would like to provide the merchants with very low cost payments. So for us, if you look at the Norwegian market, for example, when it comes to e-com, providing bank accept e-com payment, that's really a strong offering for the merchants. In other payment situations, if you look at bank accept overall, that's extremely important for the Norwegian infrastructure and, of course, also the offering to the merchant side. But if you look at Vipps as a wallet, the most important thing for us is the customer interface. It's the data. It's who is actually deserving to have the customer interface. And that's why we find, for example, P2P payment in Europe so important. So growing that kind of services, making your wallet even more attractive than today, when it comes to the end user preference, that's extremely important. So in some areas, you can say that the really effective infrastructure, the payment rails, low cost, that gives a really good offering to the merchants, is also going to actually enhance and create an even better wallet. That could be the case. But our main focus is creating more competitive edge when it comes to the customer interface. That's always number one for us. And that is the reason why we have been succeeding as a brand as well. If you look at the beginning for Vipps, we only had Visa transactions. I remember back in 2015 when we had 2 kroner and 36 øre per transaction. And as you know, the transaction became free pretty fast. We started to charge 1 krone in the beginning. That's challenging. So we are very dependent on account-to-account solutions with low cost. But as you say, we're also dependent on having a solution that can be used everywhere. So we're trying to find a good combination, low-cost schemes, low-cost account-to-account, also offering Visa and MasterCard, and orchestrating a solution with low cost and high scalability.
Yeah, because we heard from companies like Bizum, your equivalent in Spain, that they're working on a point of sale wallet where they have card compatibility, but also running on the bank rails.
Correct.
Is that something that you have on the roadmap as well?
This is things we are discussing with the European players, yes. So we're looking into that. That's part of the discussions we're having with the different wallets in Europe, yes. I have to emphasize that we're trying to find the silver bullet where you are creating low cost for the merchant side, high availability for the end users as well, and of course the most attractive offering when it comes to the end user. And as I said, for us, the most important thing is the customer interface and the end user. Yeah, and I think we will see that the competition in this area is going to just increase and increase. I've said this a lot of times, the cost when it comes to transactional payment will move towards zero. So it's getting cheaper and cheaper, more and more effective, and the competition will just increase in the coming years. But I have to say that it is going to be a lot more focus when it comes to the customer interface as well. Because this is actually the battle. When you look at Apple having all the banks within Apple, you have to question what is going to be the bank's position in the long term. Who is going to actually have the preferred, I will say, access to Apple? And what is the cost? Who is going to own the customer? Are we going to see solutions in the European market as well as we're seeing in the United States, where Apple are issuing their own cards? And how is that going to affect the positioning of the local cards for the local banks?
If we're fast forwarding now, we're in 2029, let's say, and we look back on the years 26, 27, 28, what developments do you think will stand out the most of what happened in this period of time?
I think you will reflect on how important products and services of beyond payment has been. And I think you're going to look back and talk about the days where payment was mainly the transaction in itself. So I think it's a lot of new products and services that is going to create more excitement from the user side. And I believe that there are margins to win also in this space, so that you're not necessarily earning the largest proportion of money from the payment transaction.
And what makes you most excited then about the future?
First and foremost, the competition. If you look at this, we're competing against the strongest brands in the world. That's refreshing. That's fantastic. And just being in that position and say that this is a game where we think we're going to win, that is a really good starting point. But it's also the things we're talking about now, because the changes are happening so fast. And I think that, as we said, the cost of payment, that's decreasing all the time. You need to create attractiveness beyond payment. We're not losing our identity, because simplicity, creating the simple solution in the market, is the most important. But on top of that is going to be a lot of excitement when it comes to new products and services.
I'm super excited as well. I think it will be an interesting couple of years ahead. And I'm super excited to see what comes next from Vipps MobilePay. And I'll probably switch to the wallet at some point to
Thank you.
try it out.
I'll help you right away. So I guide you through it in the simplest way.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you
Okay.
so much, Rune, for this interview. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If you're interested in knowing more about the topic, feel free to reach out to myself or anyone else at Flagship. And you can also visit our website to see the relevant content on the topic. Thank you for listening in.